Hey guys, welcome back. So hey, it's been a really busy week at work for me. I sat down yesterday. I wanted to do just a really quick feeding video. I was feeding my bigger snakes, my now monitor. So I got that knocked out, went upstairs, was getting ready to put it out, and I get a notification, sure enough, that Brian Barczyk had a new video out. So of course I had to check that out. And so it gives us an opportunity to go a little bit deeper into snake behavior and feeding and snake bites. We're going to look at one and kind of look at how everything went down and show you a really good example of how you're supposed to manage it once it happens. It's going to show you a couple things. It's going to show you the importance of having more than one person around when you're feeding and working with your big snakes, and it's going to show you the importance of feeding tongs. They're awesome. I'll see you in a bit. Don't go anywhere. Do you have a natural love for animals? Then come along with us as we explore what it's like living with and caring for some of the most unique animals on the planet, our reptiles. Whether you're a lifelong keeper or just getting started, help us encourage responsible keeping, conservation, and public education in the interest of keeping our reptiles safe and healthy as we protect them for future generations. You're invited to spend time with us as we experience these awesome animals together on Intrepid Exotics. So real quick before we get started, I just wanted to give a really big shout out to all the new subscribers here for Intrepid Exotics. The channel's been growing at a pretty healthy pace. Really love the involvement and getting some awesome feedback from you guys and getting some pretty good questions. So definitely keep it coming. We're going to keep building, and I'm going to keep, of course, on my off weeks, putting out as much content as I can. I'm going to try and mix it up as much as I can. So really big shout out to you guys. We really appreciate it. Again, you guys are the ones that we're doing this for. So that being said, before we go into this, I just need to make it really clear that Brian Barczyk's an awesome dude, okay? He's like the godfather of the reptile channels, and he has really done a lot for the hobby. There's nothing bad about him at all. I mean, all of us have been bit at one time or another. Matter of fact, you know, the older guys have got a lot more scars than the newer guys. So just having something like this happen, it can happen to any of us. And that's one of the important reasons why I wanted to put this out is, you know, we've got a lot of people that have got 1, 2 snakes or something. A lot of people that are growing with their snakes, you know, they've gotten young retics, young Burmese or something like that, and they're growing with them, and they've never experienced, you know, some of them have never really seen what happens when you make a mistake with them. So Brian did, I would have used feeding tongs, but I know what it's like, man, when you got a lot of animals to work with and stuff. Sometimes it's just, you know, you get used to doing it. It's worked 100 times, but it's at one time that you get distracted or something like that, and you miss that one little cue, and things go pear-shaped really quick. And that's what happened here. Also, this is a really good demonstration.
You keep forgetting to tell them. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Right here.
Of how you're supposed to respond to it. You know, Brian did everything right. He had his guys there. They came over, helped him out. They used a Listerine trick. They used a little cup full. I've got a spray bottle, so I put that on stream, and I'll use that. It seems a little bit easier. But nonetheless, you know, pretty much the same technique. But so it's just really important that I put this out there that we're not digging on Brian at all. Brian's a good dude, and like I said, happens to the best of us. I know that he's really big on education, and you know, that's one of the reasons why he put it out there, so it gives us an opportunity to go in a little bit deeper and kind of look in slow motion what he had a fraction of a second to react to. Now I'm going to start moving into the snake feeding videos here in just a second, but before I do that, there was an episode that I did a while back that talked about snake handling gear and the things that we need. One of those things that I talked about was forceps, tongs, feeding tools, and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and run this real quick, and we're going to reference that as we go through the rest of this, because there's going to be really good examples of everything that I talked about here in the videos that are coming up. There's a couple different tools that I'll use. You know, if you're feeding the smaller snakes, I mean, just something like this, it works really fine. Anything that you can use that's going to separate the food from your hand. You know, because there's a lot of times if you're trying to feed an animal, or if you're trying to feed your snake rather, they're going to pick up on the heat, and if that prey item's cooler than your hand and you're trying to hold the prey item and give it to them, it's happened to me before. You know, being in a hurry, just handing it down, snake get a hold of my finger. So much easier on everybody to just use tongs. So if you're gonna have large snakes, you definitely get a pair of these. These things are worth their weight in gold. So my feeding day started as it normally does. I started with Niles, and he is such a voracious eater. It's not even funny. I just thought I'd throw this in here because it's always entertaining to watch him go at the bowl as soon as he comes down. So my baby female Burmese, I've got her on stillborn rabbits now. She's just upgraded from rat pups, and she has been doing really good. This is the second one that she's taken, but look what she's doing. You can see in here how I have to keep moving that rabbit around her because she smells and she tastes the rabbit, but she's picking up on the heat from my hand and she's keying in on that heat. So the fact that she doesn't have a really hot food response is working to my advantage. And I set it down on top of there. She ended up going back after I'd walked away for a couple minutes, and she's finally taking it down now. And it's all really cut and dry with my female retic here. She's a pretty reliable eater. But I did have a time when she was smaller and I had her in a 4-foot enclosure with drop down doors where she sailed right past her meal and plugged herself into my chest like you can see here. Now watch his behavior because he starts doing the same thing. The meal's right there and he just keeps trying to get around that. Again, picking up on the heat from my arms. These rabbits are just a little bit cooler than I am, so I've got to be really conscious keeping the prey item between me and him. And I finally coax him into taking it there. Now with my male retic here, this is one of those times where if I had been feeding by hand and he'd been positioned a little bit differently, he would have probably gotten a hold of me, because you can see how he misses entirely his first shot. Goes straight down, bounces his mouth off the floor, just because he's got such a hot food response, and then he recoups and comes back up and grabs it and he gets his meal. So these are all the things that we talk about when we talk about learning the snake's behavior. You know, if you've got the opportunity while you're working with your animals to set up a camera and have it set up on them so that you can watch what you're doing and you can watch how they're reacting to it, a lot of times you can determine, you know, which particular sense they're using to key in on their food item and things like that. And it really helps you to recognize the things that you need to look out for when you're feeding, just to make sure that you're having good experiences, make sure that you're not having accidents and getting bit and so forth. So this is not a really bad bite either, so it's a pretty benign one to use as an example. But again, there's some really key points kind of taking into reference everything that we've talked about so far. When you look at this actual bite, you can see how everything transpired with the snake's behavior. Real quick before we check this out, I'm going to leave a link to Brian's video down in the description. Really strongly recommend you guys go and check out the whole thing, and if you're not already, get subscribed to his channel. He's got a lot of cool stuff that he puts out. He's got a fantastic looking facility out there. It's a really awesome place, and he puts out a lot of good content. So by all means, get on, check this video out, and then get subscribed to his channel and check the rest of his stuff out too. Alright, so let's unpack what's going on here. As you see, this snake looks like she's ready to eat. And here comes a pig. He's got it by the back legs. Looks like it's a really safe place. Snake sees it, starts to taste it, starts to smell it. And this right here is where she picks up on the heat of Brian's arm. And that's all it takes. Once they lock onto that heat, sometimes they'll do just like she did here. Run right out, run right past the food, and latch onto it. And you can see right here, this is a typical food response bite because she's got, you know, she's throwing coils over his arm as best she can. She's got coils around the branch back there, and she spends the rest of her time there intent on constricting that arm. Now these feeding bites are no joke. I've had defensive strikes before. I've had a couple big ones wrap me up thinking I was a meal, and once they latch onto you, even a snake this size, the snake wasn't really all that big. You're talking maybe 10-12 feet on this one tops, and you can see when she wraps up here in a second, when he starts working on getting that snake off of him, even a snake that size is really difficult. And this is the reason why it's so important that you've got to have more than one person around, even if you're dealing with a 10, 12, 14 foot snake. Snake doesn't have to be 20 feet long to be difficult to deal with. In this case, you can see Brian's controlling the head. Snake's got a hold of his arm. He's controlling the head and making sure that it doesn't writhe around and start to cut him. And while he's got the head, he's calling his helper over there to get that Listerine poured down in his mouth. And that would have been a really difficult thing to manage by himself, because he couldn't move, because the snake's wrapped around the tree behind him as well. So again, another testament as to why you definitely want to have more than one person around when you're handling these guys, even if they're 10-12 footers like that, especially around feeding time like that. And we'll see what it looks like here really quick. This is what I was talking about. He's controlling the snake's head, getting a little bit of mouthwash down there, getting that taste in the snake's mouth, letting him know that it's not food. He's getting that release. You can see where he's got the snake's head controlled, and it just puts him back. Puts her back, rather. And one thing I like particularly that he threw in here is, as soon as he got the snake to release with that mouthwash, he turned right back around, offered the animal that food again, and it shows she went ahead and took it straight away. No hesitation at all. And that kind of puts to rest some of the arguments that you'll hear where people say that it stresses, traumatizes the snake and things like that, using mouthwash on it. It doesn't, and that's just proof positive of it right there. They get that taste in there, it's strong enough to make them realize that it's not a meal, that they don't like it. They let go, and they're fine. Just like you seen there. As soon as she let go, she went ahead and snatched onto that meal. Mission accomplished. Only had a couple pinholes in him, and because he managed it right, he didn't get ripped up. So, all in all, it's a pretty good day. So I want to give a big shout out to Brian for putting this video out. This really textbook example of everything that you need to do surrounding a snake bite. And I hope he doesn't mind me using this to kind of break it down some, and I hope you guys got something out of it. In exchange for that, if you guys like this video, you need to run down the description. Go ahead and click on his full video that I've got linked down there. Check that out, and if you're not subscribed to his channel, jump on board. Like I said, he puts out a bunch of good stuff. Now, I'm going to get out of here right now. I need to jump off of here, get this finished up. I've got another video that I'm starting straight away because I'm starting my week off right now. So like, subscribe, jump on board, guys, and I will see you soon here in another day or two on Intrepid Exotics. Have a great day.